Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Sunandini and I'm an entrepreneur and have been associated with Inside IIM as a video producer since 2022. The agenda of this video is to create awareness about how it is to work at some of the top corporates in abroad. Today, we are privileged to have Himanshu Somani, who is currently working at one of the world's top companies, Google, since 2018, joining us as a guest speaker. He's an IIM-A graduate and did his summer internship as an investment banking analyst from Morgan Stanley. He was working as a product marketing manager and currently working in strategy and operations department in Google, San Francisco. He will enlighten us about his journey, struggles, and achievements, shedding a spotlight on how the work, culture, lifestyle, and transitions of him working in USA. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please comment on the live chat and we'll address this during the Q&A session. So Himanshu, let's begin. Maybe tell us something about your childhood and schooling.
Awesome. Thank you, Sunandini. Quite a formal introduction. Thank you very much, and really nice to see all of you like joining your folks. Right. We'll chat more about like my journey, and I would love to actually hear from what you have done and like what you are thinking about doing. So please do share questions. Okay. Uh, let's start with like the childhood question. Okay, you asked me. So I was like born and brought up in Kolkata, as I've mentioned just like a couple minutes back. So I lived there for like 10 years. Okay. And I decided, okay, I did my schooling there. And then my parents decided to move to a place called Bhilwara in Rajasthan. Not sure if many of you would have heard, but I started living in Bhilwara, did rest of my schooling till 12th over there. So it's fun to live in a big city, fun to then live in a urban area. So a lot of what I am today, it's shaped from my childhood, and you'll probably see as we go further.
So can you just maybe tell us about your profile, how your 10th, 12 boards were, maybe then bachelor's, your CAT percentile?
Okay, marks were great. I would say good enough for me to get into one of the top colleges. So I got into SRCC after 12th, did BCom honors there. CAT percentile again great, 99.89, enough for me to being a commerce graduate, fresher, right? It was easy for me with that percentile to get in like top colleges. I got into like Ahmedabad there. I was in fact starting to pursue CA course, right? Chartered accountancy. I did the CPT and I got a rank even in IPCC. And then fortunately, I got into like IIM-A. So then I decided I should drop CA to like pursue MBA. And since then, I never felt the need to complete it. So even though I have passed IPCC and I can still complete my final, I decided let me shift gears and I moved away from the finance profile and moved to marketing, and we'll talk more on that.
So I just want to know, like, what kind of a student were you? Were you a very hardworking or you were smart for schooling?
No, nothing like that. So I think like initially, like fun fact by the way, when I moved from like Kolkata to Bhilwara, like class fifth, I didn't study. I skipped it, right? So I like the schooling was so advanced, like the studies, the courses were so advanced in Kolkata that it was very easy for me once I like moved to Bhilwara. Then I decided, okay, like this is probably a very easy class for me, and I had studied like way more senior for that. So I like skipped a class, and then suddenly I was in a class which actually like for me was not one of the like best sections that I would have been, and like I started getting like mischievous. I was super mischievous. Like sixth, seventh, eighth, I was known in the whole school to be one of the most mischievous students. And then like fortunately, like in I think class ninth, I got a great teacher, great maths teacher who actually like said, "Let me isko main theek karunga," and that's when I started changing. And then I was kind of like an average to an above average student all the time, but then after like eight, I stopped focusing on like other mischievous activities. And then once you start putting focus on something else, you like excel in that. So that's when I started excelling a lot in academics post ninth. And then it's as you say, it's all history. And though, even though I would say like it's actually not so hard to get great marks, like and I often say this to people, marks is not a definition of like your character, like how like आपने कितना score किया doesn't matter today. In fact, like the place where I am, We don't even ask each other's marks, like how much did you score, like, or which college are you from. Like none of us ask us. We'll talk about like which college, like which company are you coming from, but we don't focus on marks at all, at least here.
So now maybe like how was your experience in IIM-A after this?
IIM-A, probably one of the like lovely experiences there. I think like people there, right? I have the opportunity to be with the smartest people in my life there. Uh, some of the smartest people ever across my schooling, and like even people I have seen here.
How
Like
do you
many of them
describe
have
the
joined.
smartness?
Like smartness, as in, so think about like really good in intelligence, really nice people, uh, all sorts of like great people, right? Like people who I know would do great in life, who would be super successful, who are amazing human beings, who have the knack to succeed in life in whatever they do. So I know like some of my friends, like they are in consulting and investment banking to private equity and VCs. Some of them have joined the tech companies like Google and Microsoft. Some are in startups, like doing amazing there. So all these people, and even some of them have started something of their own, right? That's a very small percentage, and that's the sad part. But you'll see people doing like in all sorts of uh, domains in the world. And I would say like these people, right, like my peer said, was one of the amazing ones. And even like the other things about like IIM-A that's super great is teacher, right? I mean, like the teacher and faculty there, uh, like I would say like I haven't like had such nice teachers ever, uh, who had so much knowledge, right? Had so much industry experience, like no match out of there.
Maybe can
So
you give us some examples, something
so
that is still there with you?
I, I would say, okay, so there are like teachers who are writing books, okay, like in fact, even in SRCC, right, like I used to read books of the teachers who used to teach me. Like they like in like it's the same teacher who was teaching me and say, hey, why don't you go and buy this financial accounting book that I have written myself? Even at IIM-A, right, most professors would used to like they would write their own book. Uh, you have professors who are like awarded by many Padma Awards. You have professors who have industry experience doing industry projects, which is like really mind-boggling. You have professors who are involved with social impact efforts. People that are doing different kinds of courses that I've never seen. Right? There's this one very popular course called Shodh Yatra that will allow you to go to a place like, and we went to Uttarakhand, where I met the governor of like Uttarakhand, and you experience like the real village life there. You go on a trek, you experience the life of Uttarakhand, and there's like management lessons there. There is an amazing professor, Sunil Maheshwari. He used to have a course on Bhagwat Gita, and he used to say there are management lessons on Bhagwat Gita, and I mean super impressive, right? Like when you actually look at from that perspective, like it changes your mind. And there are many such names that I could go and
Can
talking
you just
about.
like maybe give us some example how Bhagavad Gita is related to management and how what are
Oh
the
come on,
different
like everything, like okay, like look at think about the philosophy of deontology, and I am a strong believer of it. It says that actions is important, not consequences. You even have a slok there, chapter 2, like verse 47, which says Karmanya Vadikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana. Right? Like you are entitled to, you have the right to do your right, do your karma, right? You have the adhikar to do your karma, but you are not entitled to the fruits of it. It is such a big comment, right? And then you are like in the whole time thinking about, I am in the rat race, thinking about, hey, I am getting the results or not. Come on, like that's where you have the guidance. Like you clearly know that probably you should focus on actions and not, you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. And similarly, there are many actually, like some say that there's like one which says it doesn't matter what action you do, you will always have something that goes wrong with it, something evil about it. There's a slok, chapter 18, I think verse 48, which says Sahajam karma kaunteya sadoshamupi na tyajet sarvarambha hi doshena. Sarvarambha hi doshena. Everything that you do will have some kind of a dosh. Uh, like dhume nagni rivavita, which is like just like fire has smoke. Everything that you will do like have some sort of like fault in it. So you can say that, hey, I am feeding the poor, and then there will be something wrong about it, right? And if you like relate it to like politics, and I am a big fan of international like politics and business there. Like there's this comment made by Jay Shankar just a couple of days back about vaccines and about the wheat exports. How India wants to export vaccines and exports wheat to the poor countries, but somehow the rich gets benefited out of it. So right, like that's just like one example of how whatever you want to do, there will always be some sort of an evil that may be like related to it.
So one question, do you have a very good memory?
I would say so.
Fair enough.
Like at least that was good enough for me to like get through the grades, and I think that's all the test is, right? At least in our like in education, like that's what I feel, right? Till 12th, it was all a test of my memory. There was a small set of like chapters that I used to read, and then okay, you have to like learn it and like write it in your exams. Right? That's very like, and there are like people who have better memory than me. Like it's not.
But like what I see is many people read things, but you reflect on things also. So that reflection is what is different, and you are not giving it enough credit right now. Is what
I
I
think that goes to the fact that I am super curious about like a lot of things in my life, and that goes to again one of my childhood traits. Uh, Teachers are not happy about it. Like when I used to ask so many questions, but like when you ask questions, like you have an inquisitive mindset, like you start reflecting on things. And I am a philosopher by nature, so I would like totally give it that I love like talking about philosophy all the time.
So Himanshu, just to understand you better, what was your specialization in IIM-A?
Yeah, so IIM-A, right? Like when I was there was no such concept of specialization.
Okay.
So the good thing was like first year we all had the same courses that we could actually go and study. Second year, like which was post internship, we could choose the courses that we want to actually study. And I said, okay, let me go and read through multiple subjects. Right, I was fresh out of college. Uh, so I mean, I said, okay, let me experience other things, and a lot of credit goes to the fact that during my internship I realized I don't want to do finance in the long term, like in terms of career. So that's when I decided, okay,
Your internship was from?
Morgan Stanley, right?
Morgan
So
Stanley.
investment banking at Morgan Stanley, and that's when I realized if I don't want to do like before that, I was thinking, hey, I would like have a career in finance, right? Like I was like almost CA, IPCC, have investment banking internships. Everyone would have said, right, hey, you would end up in a finance role, but then realized that that's not the role for me, not the career for
How did
me.
you realize this?
A very, very nice story, actually. In fact, like within 15 days, actually, I was in like, we were like in a bar, we were all having drinks, and like one of the leaders there, like the managers there, asked me, so it's been 15 days, right? How has your experience been? I said, okay, I think I'm good at this job, but I am definitely not neither enjoying the job, neither the work, like the work-life balance, like working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's not sustainable in the long run. So, and I realized that I don't enjoy just talking about numbers and playing with numbers to like make a story. Want to do something real, productive, impactful, right? So that's when I realized not the right domain for me, even though I'm good, but not the right domain.
So what is the final thing that you chose?
Yeah, so finally, right? I mean, like it was, I would say, luck or just serendipity. Uh, I mean, like Google came to campus before the final placements, right? And like think about like me in like try to like think about myself, like put myself, like put yourself in my shoes. Okay, I am in my second year, right after MBA, like internships. I know I will never get a PPO because I have said that I don't want to go on a career in investment banking to those people like in 15 days. And and then I am like just before placements, I know, right? Like okay, I had like great time, studied all subjects, and Google comes there before the final placements, and they say we'll hand you an offer before the final placements. And everyone almost like applies. They say, okay, it's like just apply, right? What's the harm in it? It's going to be an off-campus off placement of like anyways. So I applied there, and I was very like calm and chill. I said, ये नहीं तो कुछ नहीं, और like final placements तो है ही, वो तो हो ही जाएगा. And I was really calm, and I think many other people were also like quite chill and calm. And it was actually, I think, just a chord hit between me and the recruiters here and my managers who did the interviews. And Then I said, okay, serendipity happened. And then I said, okay, Google's hiring for one role, which is marketing. And I think that's the only option I have. I have an offer before placements. So let me just take it. And so like, I think like the biggest factor for me, if I look back and reflect, is I had very clear idea that I need to go to a place which has better work-life balance, better culture. So those are the two things I prioritized like ruthlessly. I said I don't care about money, and the good thing was Google was not offering a lot of money at that point in time for the role that I was hiring for. So many people said, "Hey, sorry, like people of my caliber, I should like get like double the money that I'm getting." I said I don't care. I would prefer better work-life balance and culture. And then like it was great luck that once you get promoted here at Google, suddenly you have a great hike, and you are earning actually way below, like way above average.
So
So
what was the role you were hired for?
yeah, so the role I was hired for, it's a management training program. It's a kind of a leadership program that Google has across the globe. It's called Associate Product Marketing Manager.
Okay.
So it's the APMM program, very popular actually for Google, right? So the good thing about that program is you get to uh, travel a lot. You get to meet people across countries. You will go on a trip, and I went to Europe, Spain, and Madrid, and like Istanbul, where I met like 100 people from across the world. Right, like it's an amazing experience, right? Like all by the way, all corporate sponsored. You go on like these boot camps where you actually like again, I went to Jakarta to like again talk to people and just like hang out with people and like have some training sessions and like learn more. So it's that the whole program is structured for us to like it make it fun and like make us the backbone of cross company collaboration, right? So because like we have contacts with people across the globe, it's way more easier for me to like get something done when I want to get something done in, let's say, yeah, I know someone to do that. So that's a good thing. And like I was lucky that I was part of that program. And the best thing about it is after 1.5 years, if you don't like your role or your location, you can actually go and go to another role. So there is a formal process by which you can interview for
Just like
another
I
role.
want to get back to one point.
Yes, yes.
Like how was the Google interview itself? Like what were they looking for? Because there was only
Yeah.
one position and you got chosen for it and you did an internship in finance. So I think there might be many people in IIM who were doing marketing. So
Yeah, so they actually hired two people, and I think like one of them declined the offer. But the good thing is like I have written a blog actually on the whole interview process. There are like four major traits that Google like looks at for all interviews, and like I had 4 rounds, and they looked at the same things. You have analytical abilities, how like sharp, smart you are. Given coming from finance, I think that was a very walk in the park. There is a leadership round where they test how good of a leader can you be in future. Right? They have a third round which is around role-related knowledge. You have marketing knowledge or not. And I had done some courses, and like as a fresher, they would like just expect you to have basic understanding of marketing, which I had. And then like most importantly, I think like it's Google like culture fit, which is the Googliness related interviews that they ask. And I think it's not like one thing that hit a chord, but it's about all the things that hit a chord, right? Like especially the culture fit. Uh, I probably may not be super successful or like may not crack interviews in other companies like which have, let's say, a cutthroat competition or like a different kind of a culture. Google, on the other hand, has a very polite culture. It's about being nice, right? Like that's one of the mottos: "Don't be evil." Right. So it's a very different kind of culture that relates very much to my personality, and I think they could see through it. Even though like it was more about like, hey, does this guy have potential in the long run? It doesn't matter how bad or good is he doing in the interviews. So I think they probably like hired me for those reasons.
okay. So like for the training session, you were just called up and you went to different countries and met people around and networked with them.
Yeah, so there's a formal like trip you can say, right, where people from all sorts of countries and like locations they will come together.
Okay.
So like we went to like first Istanbul and then Madrid. It was just a like more about hanging out with people and knowing others better.
And
So
how long was
by the
this
way,
whole thing for?
This
Sorry.
trip was for, I think, like for about a week,
Okay.
including so
You were
good
saying something
experience.
interesting. You said, by the way, with
Yeah,
a
so I would say, like, if you want to read more about the interview process, I have written a blog. It's on my LinkedIn page.
we
You
will
can.
add this link on this description of this webinar also later on, so
So,
people will get
sounds
that.
good.
So yeah, so nice. And so, like, explain about me more about what was the first role that you went through after the trip, maybe in Google. What are the things that you did practically? If you can give some examples, maybe
Yeah.
real project.
So uh, at Google, the experience have been amazing. At least for the first 1.5 years, right? I got exposure to one of the best marketing teams. Uh, right, like I handled a budget of 300 crores in my first year. That's more marketing budget than I think of any other marketing organization that I can think of, except like big startups who has just crazy money to burn. Uh, like think about this, right? I'm like on Google search, and I was marketing for Google search. Started with like all the basic stuff like project management and media measurement, right? And then starting to go up to like talk about creatives, building creatives and developing that, right? Just the marketing space there, all the different things that you'll do in marketing. But the fact that a company can trust you with 300 crores of budget to spend on TV and YouTube and like cinemas and for ads that you are creating, that shows trust that they have on the hiring process, on the people, and on the management. Right. So I was super lucky also and super fortunate to uh, get that exposure, and I think it was a great learning for me as well in those first few years.
Okay. So, like, anything, any story or anything that happened in between all
Yeah,
this?
so I'll give you a story. Okay, I'll talk about this. So I'm sure you all like search on like use Google app, like most of you would be. And there's a nice feature about Google app, which is like the Google Discover, which is like the news feed that you actually scroll on your phone, right? You have a lot of news articles on the Google app. That was actually launched in 2018, like around that time, and India was the first country to do a marketing for it. So it was a completely blank space. We are launching a new product. We are doing a marketing for it, and uh, we have to go do research. So in fact, like one of the things that I've even done in terms of research, right? We had created an ad. I went to like Sector 29 in Gurgaon, showed the ads to people, and gave them chocolates that we have at Google, right? We took some chocolates from office, and we like gave it to people and asked them that, hey, why don't you see this ad and tell me what you feel about it, and like do user testing like that. So that's how scrappy we did things. And like we of course did like a full research also. We had budgets to do it, by the way, but we didn't have time.
But who
So
were these target audience? You
the
went to
audience is
the.
actually like everyone in the internet space, right? Like essentially, Google almost has like the whole market, but the whole idea is can we increase the usage of the Google app more? So that was the idea, and I was trying to pitch. Like, for example, you for shopping, you'll probably go on Amazon and search stuff, right? Like the idea was, hey, why don't you actually come to Google and search about uh, the top like upper funnel stuff, upper funnel queries that hey, I want a dress and fashion stuff, or maybe a mobile phone, and we did ads for those so that people like have the awareness about searching there.
Can you just maybe tell us some of your achievements in Google India? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, once you are in corporate now, then it's not achievement, then it's just work. So it's about okay, I did the work. I think like everything is an achievement in that perspective. That like, hey, I was able to manage 300 crores budget. That's a big deal, right? I was able to launch a product, do marketing for a new product. That's an amazing experience. Like once I moved to the US, right, I was leading marketing for like a whole industry, like manufacturing, supply chain. Uh, think about it, like leading marketing for like a whole industry for Google Cloud. That's a big deal, right? Like that's a big responsibility. It's an achievement and it's a right. And I'm as I said, like before going back to our conversation, it's about actions. It's not about the consequences and results. And I focus more on the former.
And did you ever feel like you don't want to work here, or maybe some hardship where you're like, you have to push through? There are ups and lows, obviously. So I just wanted
Many times,
to.
actually, many times. Yeah, like the Google I joined, I think there's been like a lot of changes over time. Uh, the company has become big, really big now. But you always have like such nice people who I work with, and the work that I do, that's so amazing that I often feel like, even though I mean I can sometimes like blame the fact that, hey, like I'm spending too much time on stakeholder management or trying to align people, right? Like if like when a company is big, you often spend time to like make sure communication is there. And I mean, like I don't like the fact that I have to do those basic stuff about like communicating better, which is super important, right? And that's what you have to do, which I don't like often. But then you have such amazing people that you work with, such great work, that you somehow say, okay, I think I can work another one more day, and that's how I've been pushing.
So, how did you get the opportunity to shift from Google India to Google San Francisco, where you're working currently?
Yeah, so as I said, right, as part of the APMM program, you have the opportunity to interview with any other open roles after 1.5 years. So after 1.5 years, it's like like it was almost like open for me. I could go to like anywhere in the world, take any role, or any work with any manager, any team. All I need to do is like interview with the manager, and if the manager, I think like, we hit a chord, they'll probably like hire me. So I decided, okay, I want to do B2B. I've done B2C, wanted to like diversify my experience. And I decided I want to, if I'm really going outside India, let me at least go to the place where everyone just like wants to be. In fact, like fun fact, like I never wanted to go outside India, right? Like when I actually started, or like when I, like even after like 1 year working at Google, I had made a decision. I'm not going outside India. I'm not going to work in US, right? I don't want to. I would continue doing my current role because I'm liking it. But then, as you say, it's serendipity. Like things happen, and then people tried to convince me that why don't you go experience it? Like you just get an exposure, and I think that was a good decision.
Was it the same
Trying
role
to
as you were working in Google India?
no, very like totally different role. I was in consumer marketing doing search, and I moved to B2B marketing for Google Cloud.
Okay.
Right, my role was very local focused, like India focused. Once I moved to the US, it was global role, and I was focusing about all the countries. So quite a different role.
So yeah, right now you're working in USA. So like just
Yeah.
explain how is the work there? How is USA in general?
No, that's going to be a long one. Okay, how is US in general? And I have some like strong feelings about it. So I would try to give some facts to people here, right? Like all of you, like don't just take me by verbatim, right? Like try to do your own research. But I have had some like amazing experiences as well, not so amazing experiences. Okay, so let's start with the good things first. So one of the best things here is just the convenience of everything in life. You have an amazing weather, and I used to live in Gurgaon, and now here I am in Sunnyvale, like SF, which is, yeah, it's the best weather you can imagine in the whole world, right? Like it's always like 20 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
And like you have like the best natural beauty out there. Like from my previous home, if I used to like drive 30 minutes one side, I will have mountains. 30 minutes other side, I'll have the beach. 30 minutes other side, I have like almost like hilly area, like almost a forest. And 30 minutes other side, I have like the suburb. Right? It's like that kind of a place I'm living, right? So the weekends become really fun. You actually like can go out a lot. Uh, just a great place, just a great natural beauty. Uh, and right, they have actually maintained it really well. So that's definitely one of the positives. The other great positive I would say, and I'm sure you all have heard of it, is money. You get slightly higher paid here in US compared to in India. It's just because of the difference in purchasing power parity. So my salary becomes like 3x, 4x of what, let's say, I was earning in India. Even expenses also become that much, but then you still like savings also become like that multiple,
Mhm.
right? So that's one other good factor. What are not great factors? I think one, it's a very like an individual place and like a very different community for me, and me coming from a place of and a culture about where we have like we used to live with family and like eat together and then like have friends and families to go out with. I miss really that here. If you have your family in US, then you should probably think of moving here. If you don't have anything, then have some plans, because you're going to get really bored. Uh, Definitely, right? So like this is like not a place where you don't have that social connection, which is like normal, right? Like you are coming totally new, you're an immigrant, right? It's just like migration, right? Think about like migrating from, let's say, like a rural place in India to an urban city. This is just migration of another scale. This is migrating from India to the US, like developing country to a developed nation. You have all the same problems, right? Even economically, you have some problems about housing and food and like other things, right? Socially, there are problems, right? You can try to visualize, right? And this is a great analogy that I'll try to ask everyone to visualize. Think about the people that you see around who are coming from like villages and rural areas to cities. How is their lifestyle? And just try to have similar point of view with respect to migration from like one country to another. It's still migration, right? So there would be very similar challenges. You'll still have the political issues, you'll still have the social issues, uh, which is very true, right? One of the biggest issues, I would say, apart from this, is the social security factor, right? Like the security and the safety is very much questionable in US, at least the place I am living in. I used to live in SF, and that's when I like got mobbed, or like essentially what means is like any random person on the street, they'll come and they'll just beat you for no reason. And it happened to me. Like I was going in one of the best streets in SF, and then someone just beat me up for no reason. I had a phone in my hand, they tried to steal the phone. Like that doesn't happen in India, right? Like you will have mob fights and all, but you clearly know who's the target, or like who's the person who's going to like be affected by it. I was probably not on the affected side. Here I am, right? Like this is a safety is a big factor here, and like you all read about the things in the news, right? Like California is a liberal state, and that's why you have all the challenges here. But even like in other states, you have issues around gun shootings and all. So yeah, safety is a big concern here. So that's one reason why I feel it's better from a social standpoint to be in India.
Okay, some new perspective. I didn't think about all this, to be honest.
Yeah,
I was more into how is your work? Like, how do you commute to your work? Where do you stay? How far is it from Google?
yeah. So okay, all those, right? I mean, those are very
I,
standard, right? Like yeah. So
yeah, but
work, I
this
would
is
like.
a very different perspective that you brought in, which we read in news daily,
Right.
but we never heard it from someone, you are talking to. So,
This is real. This is real. I'm telling you, this affects all of us. I would say, like, think about migrants from rural area to urban area. Think about how is life affecting them in cities. You will get affected in the same way when once you move to another country, right? Like that's going to be your life. And I'm not even going to the legal troubles of like visa issues and all the other things, uh, which is like well documented.
hmm.
So
Okay,
it's
so
it's not it's not easy. It's not easy to live. Like you can think, hey, it's all blue, it's all beautiful and all. You're earning enough. You are, but you are living like away from your family. I have to cook myself, right? Like for like 3 times a day, and that's actually one good thing that has happened to me. Or like I learned cooking, and I really cook well now. So that's really one good thing of
one
living
good
in
thing
SF.
added to your skill list.
Yeah, right. You know how to manage your like work and like your home like better. So that's one good thing, but like it's not super like
Hmm.
easy, right? Like depends on what your choices are, but it's not
Got
the
it.
most
So how
convenient
is
one.
your work? How is your workplace? How are your colleagues, maybe?
Yeah, so work colleagues, I would say first let's start with work and like your commute and stuff. So I prefer to live very close to office. So I got a house like 10 minutes walking from my office. Like it's like right across the street. Even though I'm in a suburb, like I can like 10 minutes walk, I can reach the office. And like I chose to live here, less commute, and like because I can like really go to office, talk to people, and like really hang out with people. I think colleague, right? Like people like at Google in general are like one of the nicest people I've met in like in my life. They are super polite, like super nice, right? Like just nice human beings. And it's very collaborative culture here. We try to do things and try to like tackle big problems in a very polite and nice way, right? It's not like in a startup you'll probably have the hustle and like hustle to like, hey, cutthroat competition, work till like 2 a.m. None of that stuff here, right? Like I mean I get like the work day ends at like 5.
So,
No
like, how
one
many hours is the working time?
9 to 5,
Fine.
but most people actually end at like 4. I actually end at like 3, 4, and then I spend like 2, 3 hours at night when I feel like to do some of the remaining work. Like there's reasons for it, right? I mean, they have evolved their lifestyle accordingly.
Hmm.
So like sometimes like in summers, right, you have like long nights. Like there's sunset at like 8:30 here,
Hmm.
right? Like so you have such a long time. So you people go playing to play like tennis, like people go to like play like go to the gym, like just go to like take a run. So they have those like a very different lifestyle here, right? It's not just about walk, but it's also about your personal life. It's about balancing work and life, and it's very sustainable in that. So in that sense, it's a very positive thing about US and a bit different about US from India. uh, Unlike in India where you have to work till like 8 or like 7, and or like oftentimes for other people 9. Not
That's
the
the
case here.
question. Like, is it that the work is being done? That's not being hampered, but it's more
Totally, yeah.
efficiently done. And the work-life balance is very nice.
Yeah, I would say it's not that work's not done, right? Like definitely America has figured some sort of a
Exactly.
formula, and they are like that's why they are the richest country, right? They have a formula here, right? So it's about, I think the thing that I have felt is it's about making sure how you can make the best of an opportunity. They have an head start also. Of course, it's not a fair world, but they are still able to get a lot of things done way more efficiently than I would say in India, right? Like in India, we focus a lot on things that probably we don't get time to reflect, and that's why we focus a lot on things that we should not probably do. Here, it's not the case, right? You'll probably see people working like less, but it's okay, right? I mean, that's what their economy is, right? It's what about like life is not just about work. It's
Hmm.
totally okay to like have a lifestyle outside work, and that can also have you a great society, and that's probably working here, right? So if you are interested in like living in a society which is really polite, right? People, almost everyone is there super polite in US, like very courteous. They'll say thank you for no reason. You'll see, like, and I have gotten the habit of saying please all the time for absolutely like no reason, and I never used to say please in India. So if you like those kinds of things, right? Like if you are probably like an isolated person and you are okay living alone, or like living in a small group of people that you are close with, or if you have your family, then this probably is a nice place. But someone who's like me, like who want to be a bit more social, right, trying to be a bit more with families and friends, or want to go out and meet people, or like want to have like or want to work hard, work like till like 8 or 9, like then this is not the place for
So
you.
you like
You'll
it?
not.
You like working till 8 or 9?
I like working. I like to do things. As I said, I mean, it's about actions. I like to
Hmm.
do something and don't care about results. And like for me, after 4, I would probably work on something else, right? I mean, I'd probably read a book or an audiobook or something, or probably read some stuff, or maybe watch a movie, nice documentary, or maybe like play chess. I'm a very passionate chess player. Play like long hours of chess. Play chess, right? Pursue something there. Go to the gym like almost like 5 p.m., 6 p.m. type. So that's what you day, right? I mean, like once your day like ends at like 4, 5, then you like spend time to do all the other things that you thought you will do, but like you never did it.
So, how is the hierarchy in Google? This has been pointed out a lot that is it a company which has many levels or it's just a flat base? And is there a difference between Google India versus Google San Francisco, maybe?
Yeah, like Google is a big company now, and you need to have a hierarchy, right? So it's like the standard stuff. Uh, you do have some hierarchy, but also like you have a lot of authority to do a lot of things. People put a lot of trust on you, right? Like you are empowered to do things that I think is a great thing about here being in US, right? in India, you'll have a lot of micromanagement probably, right? Like it's not natural, right? That's where like that's a culture. We try to work hard. Almost everyone's super involved. The trust factor is a bit of a deficit there. It's a different like work style there, right? Like work hard and like be like be picky about everyone's work. Here it's very like calm, right? Like they'll trust you that you'll do a good job, and like they have their own life to live. Like so, yeah, definitely, right? They will give you the opportunity. They will give you exposure, uh, but then that also impacts the learnings, right? I mean, if once let's say if managers are like really picky about like learnings, you get a like lot of feedback. You grow and develop. Here, on the other hand, you grow a bit slowly, but it's an again, it's okay. It's about focusing on the 80% of the things instead of trying to perfect whole 100%.
Okay. And can you switch departments within Google? As in, you also switched, I guess,
Mm,
when you shifted.
mm.
Moreover, like from maybe finance to marketing, can you think about that extreme?
Yeah, like this is a very interesting question you asked, Nandini, right? Because think about like a big company, you have like all the openings all the time,
Yes.
uh, and they have to still have a process for people to move from one like department to
Hmm.
other. So I know many people in marketing who wants to like go to product management.
Hmm.
Very, very rarely the other way around. But right, like very few wants to like go from PM to being a marketer, uh, or marketing to sales, right? For that matter. But you will actually there's a process to go there, and the one thing that I would say is, if anything, it's super easy to move locations and roles in Google within your department, right? Like within marketing, I think if the other there's an opening and if you are like in good terms with the hiring manager, they'll have a couple of interviews, 3-4 rounds, right? And like if you have cracked those interviews, I think that's it. You can like go through it. So I think it's just very similar, right? Just like they will hire someone externally, you can actually apply and then you can
Hmm.
uh, get there. So
And can you tell us something about
definitely,
sorry, what were you saying?
it's easier to move roles here, definitely, than I would say in many other companies that I know of. Like for example, for me, moving from India to US, I think it's like not just like it was way more smoother than I would have ever imagined, right? And many of my friends are in consulting companies right now, and they are trying hard to like, can I get an offsite project, right? Or like, can I move to like another country? Here, it's like doesn't matter if there is an opening, you call the like you like apply for it. There will be a couple interviews, and shush, that's easy. You pass it, and you're there.
Okay. So can you just explain more about your current job, what you're doing in
Yeah.
strategy and operations, right?
Yeah, so I recently moved like my roles here, right? So I used to be in product marketing. I have now moved to strategy and operations. So it goes to like my basic instincts. Like I am analytical. I like business and operations. I like to think about it more strategically. So it goes with my abilities there. So that's why I moved. Like it's just like 2 months old. So in my current role, what I more do, it's like I get like more of a like in my previous role, I was like the product marketing lead for manufacturing and supply chain, right, for Google Cloud. So I used to be very focused on one industry, focused on like of course like across the world. But here, right, I'm in my current role, I'm getting a 30,000 feet view of all industries, all solutions of Google Cloud for the whole of North America market, right? So it's a big exposure there, right? Like I mean, like I am able to like see how much money that North America is able to generate for cloud. I can't disclose it here, but I am able to like be involved in those discussions, work with stakeholders for all kinds of like meetings and reportings and making sure that they are all aware about how our performance is, how can we improve the performance. So uh, yeah, I mean, like I work very closely with senior stakeholders now compared to what I did like in the past. So like it's more about getting a much broader perspective of business, and coming from like one small niche, it actually helps me to like develop that perspective of how's the business really running.
Okay. And like, is this you must have a lot of responsibility right here. So I just
Yeah.
want to understand, does your decision affect to an extent that you decided something and maybe it is wrong and it affected many, many people out there? Has it ever happened?
Thankfully, I would say, I mean, not to like such a huge extent. Of course, there are decisions that I've made which has affected people, uh, and there have been decisions that others have made that have affected me, right? Like we can postpone things, right? That will affect like all the work that we have done. Sometimes we launch things which may not go as well as we have expected, but the good thing is like as I said, leadership is like very very supportive, and you can then rectify your mistakes. I don't think like it's also the idea about iteration, right? You start launch something and then take a pilot and then scale it up. So then you learn through the mistakes in the process. So of course there are learnings all the way, but like nothing super serious that hey you will get fired for it.
And how many people are working under you? Can you count it,
Uh,
or
no, so
it's
I actually, I mean, like, yeah, I counted zero, but I actually like work in partnership with many of like other people, right? So it's a very collaborative culture that wise, right? Like I work with senior stakeholders, so all the people I work with are like probably 10 years senior to me, right? So it's more like it's more about making sure I get the reporting done properly. I make sure we are very clearly aligned on what our objectives are. Are we hitting our goals or not? Where are we performing? What are we doing good? What are we not doing so great? How can we improve that? So those are like some like big questions that keep on like repeating in my mind, and I try to address those.
so I like we heard about your interview in Google and we saw what Google is looking for when they are hiring. But now that you have gained all this experience, is this some skill
Right.
or some personality that you look for when you hire maybe people for yourself?
So when I look for people, I think like there's one like logic, which is like analytical abilities, right? Some like he or she should not be like stupid, and I should not say that, but essentially they should have some sense of like how things work, right? Like some analytical ability, right? That's basic one. And second is like just an emotional quotient, right? EQ. It's an IQ plus EQ thing, by the way, but like the googliness factor is super important, because everything else, right? You'll learn over a period of time, but this is something that's what your nature is, right? Like your like if you have a certain perspective about things in life, you will have that. You like your values will always be there. So I often try to look at what other person's values, and the second being like not like values and like no, the logic are what I look at.
So just sidetracking into all the trending hype and everything about Google, does it provide free food, video games, nap pods? Is it true?
Yeah, all of it is true and a lot more actually. Free food definitely, but the food's not that great here actually. Indian food's not that great, uh, at least. So I have to cook myself. But free food, yes, you can eat all continental stuff. You can eat like healthy stuff. You have snacks, you can eat that. Free food app pods, free games. There are free bikes, by the way,
Okay.
around the campus. So you can actually use that to like commute from one office to other. There are many free services Google has. Many of those perks, of course, would be hard for me to like document it here. But you should actually see some of those videos, right? Like many such great facilities that Google
Like,
has.
does Google India also have these things?
Yeah, all of it.
All of
They
it.
try to keep it consistent across locations. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And now just wanted to get into more into like personal financing. If a person wants to work there, so want to
Mhm.
understand what is the expense that they have to look into, like an estimate of expense that you have, like your living expense in San Francisco, basically. Can you just share it a bit?
So Bay Area, I think it's slightly more expensive for housing. Like in general, people spend here like 35% on housing. An average American would be spending that much. And then you have like a lot of taxes and maybe other expenses. You still end up saving, like at least me personally, I end up saving 20-25% of my income very easily, which is still double what I used to save, right, in India. So uh, yeah,
Housing
and like
expense. Housing is
housing
what?
is the most expensive thing here in US, in
And
California,
what
sorry.
about food and travel, commute and all?
Yeah, Google gives free food, so not that much. Commute is like here, 10 minutes walk, so like still not that much. It is expensive. Sometimes you need to have a car to like move around. But uh, yeah, I would say like rest of the other things combined would like be 30%, and like just housing itself would be 30%.
Okay. And can you just maybe tell us your routine, your daily routine, what you do when you wake up? When do you wake up? How many hours do you work? And after that, maybe what is
Yeah.
your thing?
Okay, so that's interesting. I mean, like what do you do? Like, I don't know. You like it's similar, right? I mean, like you wake up and
Are
you
you
do
trying
it.
to host the host or something? Did you ask
No,
me?
no, no, it's me. It's a normal conversation, right? So it's similar, right? Like just like you would do. Okay, so probably like wake up like early morning, 7, 8. Uh, do start like get stuff done and then start walking till like 4, 5, and then maybe hit the gym or play some games or like music and movies and or like read book stuff, or maybe like read something else, do some research about stock markets or some research that I want to do anyways about economy, etc., read stuff, etc. Yeah, like a lot of my time actually goes like in dinner, like cooking dinners. uh, then maybe after dinner you can sometime maybe go to a movie. Sometimes you can like I sometimes I play with my brothers and friends Call of Duty online. That's the only game. You can't play PUBG here, but you can play Call of Duty. So I play with my with my brothers. And sometimes like I walk in the evening, like like when you have like focus time, you want to do something, and then you have those 2 3 hours that you can actually fully dedicate, and no one's going to ping you, message you, or no meetings, and then you can fully think about doing something done. So yeah, sleep at like 11, 12. Yeah, next day starts. Weekends are way more chill, right? You can talk to people, right? You can hang out, you can go out, all the things. You can explore the natural beauty that California has to offer.
Okay. So if you had to say one skill that you have taken up throughout the years, one skill that you have mastered completely and you think you are really good, not the best maybe, but really good at it. So what will that skill be?
That's a tough one. I don't think I can pick one. And I would never say like, hey, I'm a master of something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's too much of an arrogance. I'm good at many things, and let's keep it at that. But I would say like everyone, like if you want to really focus on things, you should focus on your like the emotional quotient, which is like your communication abilities, your the way you talk. Those are super important, and I think that's what I one of the things I have like really developed a lot while being at Google. So uh, I think in that ways, like Google has really shaped me in a lot of ways.
Okay. So currently, since you have worked in investment banking, I'm just asking this question
Mm.
randomly. So
Mm.
have you are you investing currently in this current market?
Yeah, I invest all my money in equity
Equity. And
in a
like
small.
right now, are you buying
Yeah,
stocks?
all my money is still invested. Right, all my money is still invested. I mean, uh, most of my money is still invested. But
Oh,
I don't play like I mean, like I try to invest in index funds, and that's an advice for all of you. Don't try to actively manage your portfolio, uh, but rather maybe pick some stocks and you can invest in them, or like maybe pick a portfolio like an index fund and invest there.
okay. So, what do you plan in the future? Because as you said, there are some cons and pros of working in USA. So, what is your plan for the next maybe 5 years from now?
So one is definitely getting settled personally. I think it's high time. Second is I may come to India. I don't know when, but I think it's also about figuring out what I want to do next. But I do see that's on the cards, coming back to India and starting something there. Right. I want to be closer to my family, and then if you want to get settled, you may need to come back.
Okay.
So that's something. That's a
Okay.
plan. I don't know how that goes. It's always a plan.
I guess I'm done with my questions now. We have a few questions from the audience. Let's just
Okay.
see how that goes. So,
Hmm.
one says, I have gotten admission to IIM-A this year. This is
Hmm.
probably a unconventional question. So, how is
Hmm.
the LGBTQ scenario in the college? Any clubs or support groups that you know of, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, like an amazing question, by the way. Absolutely, like took me by surprise, but an amazing question. And there is a community. I think there's a group. I think it's called a Pride group or a support club. But there is one. I'm pretty sure that I knew of from campus times. There is one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think some people are very much focused on your grades. Because you seem like a very humble person who has sailed through that. Yeah, it's okay. I got 99.87 percentile in CAT, but it's okay. That's nothing else. So they're asking what is your specific 10th, 12th grade and bachelor's? Like, how do they create that profile?
I've been an above average student, to say, like, very specifically, I got like 10 CGPA in 10th and 97% in 12th. So that's, and bachelor's again 85. So
So he's a
just,
brilliant kid, at least academically.
I would again say people, right, don't focus ever on marks. Like, if you want to believe and trust someone, like, please, I don't know if I can be saying that any better. Like, you should, like, marks is like one thing, right? We are all like just taught to like learn and like have rote learning and like just put it on like the exam copies, right? I in fact never did that, and except in like class 12 when I did, like never else. But I would definitely say marks should not never be your focus, right? Like, we never talk about marks once you like pass your graduation and post graduation. So till then maybe it's important, but never after it.
Just if marks is not that important, and I'm not refuting to this, but have you in Google itself, amongst your colleagues maybe, was there a different path? Like you came from SRCC, then IIM-A, then you got into Google. So was there
Yeah,
someone who was not that great with marks at all in India?
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
starting with India, and like what was the background and how did they get in? Do you have any story on that?
Yeah, no, totally right. I mean, like, I know one, like, two of my really nice friends who moved with me in Google. Like, we all like joined Google similar times. We all moved to the US like at similar times, right? One is from like NMIMS and one is from SPGen. One did like a 5-year course in NMIMS and like one did an MBA from SPGen. So it's not like you only have to be in like top B schools to actually get there. Second, I know people who are from like Delhi University colleges who are in Google. And then once you are in Google, I think there's absolutely no way for anyone to stop you to get into any role that you want. It's just about like, are you like, can you pass the interviews? You can always be there. So I know people from like all sorts of colleges in like DU, from Gargi and LSR to Indraprasth to like Shahid Bhagat. I mean, like so many colleges. I know people who have been there from all sorts of backgrounds. So it's definitely not that this is just one path, right? Like, marks, actually, you know what? Like, oftentimes we feel that when you get marks, it's kind of a proof that you are at least have an intelligence, and it makes the job easier for like recruiters to like shortlist and yeah, while sourcing. But it's never a true character or post like true value of a person's character.
Okay. And okay, someone is asking what skills an MBA should pick up to get into product manager role at Google.
Yeah, again, PM roles I think is a very collaborative role. It involves a lot of communication with different stakeholders. In fact, like I know PMs who are like super senior and they have zero people who are reporting under them, and they are managing like big products, big features. So you have to be super analytical, and like maybe know some coding language. Definitely have an understanding of it. Like I think they do have some coding interviews. And soft skills are super important for a PM, like no doubts. You'll have to like deal with various stakeholders from marketing, legal, PR, social, uh, engineering, etc. Like you need to have the cross company collaboration skills.
Okay. So collaboration, maybe a bit technical, analytics and coding.
Yes, coding, I guess, definitely, and all three, yes, definitely.
So the next question is gap really acted as an obstacle for big firms? A gap year? Is it an obstacle for
No,
big
I
firms?
don't think so. I mean, at least I have never seen that. Like whenever like we see like hiring people, like doesn't matter what background, what's your background like. In fact, sometimes like you actually appreciate the gap. Like I'm not sure if you know, but Twitter CEO actually has many gaps here, right? So like you'll probably like appreciate the fact that like taking a gap is not a symbol of like weakness or like symbol that hey you are stupid or like you had to like drop. Sometimes I just want to take a gap for like my welfare, uh, think about something else. It's actually a like I take it as a very positive sign that hey you had the guts to do take it, and then uh, you have an experience that many people don't have. So it's never going to be a thing of a disadvantage for you.
Okay. I guess that's it. I think these are the questions we are done with.
That's amazing. The great conversations actually with you, Sunandini. I hope others felt it too that ways. And uh, by the way, I'm always available to help. If you want to actually ask any questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And maybe if you can post my LinkedIn on the
Sure,
description.
sure, sure. We'll do this also. I'll take your link for the interview one and your LinkedIn profile as well. We'll add this in the description. So anybody who wants to see, we can put this in description. So thank you for joining Inside IIM to discuss the experience and journey of Himanshu Somani at Google. We appreciate you signing in and hope you have learned something new and interesting. I'll see you soon for the next webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you, Himanshu. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.